Welcome to Living a Graceful Life. I'm your host, Denise Medved, and I'm also the creator and founder of Ageless Grace Brain Health. I'm here to remind you that it's never too late to begin making choices to create the life that you want to live. In previous episodes, we've talked about living a graceful life and what that might look like. We've talked about the physical aspect of living a graceful life, the body. We've also talked about the brain, which is an organ in the body. And we've talked about the mind, which is invisible and why it's different from the brain. The brain is something you can touch, something you can feel, something that is real. And the mind is real, but it's also awareness and consciousness. It's about choosing to think certain kinds of thoughts and putting those thought processes together to establish beliefs and convictions and opinions that matter. Tonight, instead of talking about the physical or the mental, we're going to be talking about the emotional, and we're going to be talking about your emotional brain. So before we actually talk about how the brain produces certain chemicals that help us to change our attitudes or our mood, to alleviate stress or anxiety, we're going to talk about what emotions there are that we might be using. First of all, if you've ever attended a workshop on emotions or read an article, you're likely to have heard that there are really only two emotions. And every other emotion that we might describe falls under one of those two categories. And the two categories, or the two primary emotions, are love and fear. So what might be fear, for example? Maybe it's discrimination, maybe it's anger, maybe it's being upset about something, maybe it's annoyance, maybe it's anything that makes you feel stressed out, anxious, full of tension, anxiety, worrisome. All of those things tend to fall into the category of fear. Now, what about love? That's pretty easy for most of us. It has to do with compassion and kindness and wonder and joy and being connected and part of community. It has to do with friendship. It has to do with family. Those type of things can bring us up and release anxiety and give us those positive emotions that we tend to describe as love. Now, let's be honest, friends and family can also create some negative emotions sometimes, or things that we normally love, like maybe we really like our jobs, but some days or some people at that job might cause us to feel negative emotions. So we don't want to invalidate any negative emotions that you have. Emotions like grief and sadness and sorrow and anger. And those are important things. It's important for you to understand that you have them. It's important to understand that you can influence them one way or the other. You can make them greater and stronger. You can help them carry on a long time, or you can take those emotions and you can tweak them. You can change them. So at the very least, you learn something from them. You put them to good use. You put them to good work so that you can feel good about emotions that may not be positive. At the same time, you can also diminish those emotions or store them away in your body somewhere and in your mind, and you can decide that you want to create more positive emotions around that emotion that may be very real, and yet it's very negative and it's pulling you down or dragging you down. So we have lots of choices, and I'm sure you're thinking, well, how can I choose to change my emotions? I mean, if I'm feeling angry or if I'm feeling sad, then I just am, and there's nothing I can do about Well, there are things that you can do about it without invalidating that emotion that you have. So one of the things that I'd like to point out to you is how you use your body and how your body and brain have so much to do with your emotions. We tend to think, oh, an emotion comes from here. We call it the heart. It's more of a metaphorical heart. It's not the real muscle of the heart. It's like, I feel strongly about that, whether it's whatever, it's a positive emotion or a negative. I feel strongly about that. And we tend to touch ourselves around the heart area when we're emoting. Now, we tend to use our arms, hands, chest, and back for emotional expression. I'm doing it right now. I'm using my hands for emotional expression, but very often we'll do something like touch someone on the cheek as an expression of emotion, or we might celebrate and wave our hands and arms to express that emotion. We might pat someone on the back because we feel like they've done a really good job or a really good thing in the world. We might hug someone and use those arms, hands, chest, and back to express our friendship, our concern, our care, or maybe to use those arms as an expression of caring and compassion when we don't have the words to say for someone who might be going through a difficult time or a heartache or a heartbreak. So here's where we tend to express ourselves, with these extremities in the upper part of our body. They also affect the face. We tend to not be able to hide our emotions. You've heard of a poker face. That's supposed to be one that doesn't show any emotion. But in general, most of us show excitement, or we show worry or concern in our faces, or we show a bit of happiness in our faces. So arms, hands, chest, back, faces, very much affected by the emotions, and they affect the emotions as well. So not only does the body get regulated by arms, hands, chest, and back, but it also is affected by what's happening in the brain that produces chemicals that can either really make those emotions get stronger and remain and stay for a long time and possibly even take over our lives, or they can produce chemicals that we have some control over, that we can stimulate, that we can cause the brain to produce, that might help lighten that emotion, or it might honor that emotion and yet surrounded by so many positive and uplifting emotions that we don't let that emotion take over in our lives. So let's talk just a second about how the brain produces what we would like it to produce. It's a network of interconnected structures in the brain. It's not just one spot or one place in the brain, but this network includes a lot of big words that there won't be a test, there won't be a quiz. You don't even have to write this down. I'd just like you to know it, that all of these things are working together as sort of an emotion processing network. There's the amygdala, there's the prefrontal cortex, there's the cingulate cortex, there's the hippocampus, and there's the basal ganglia. And all of those things are working together to process emotions. So one of the ways that they do that is they produce something or several things that can cause pleasing, happy, loving, uplifting emotions. And we can cause the brain to produce those things. So what are they? Endorphins. When we exercise, when we move physically especially, we produce those pleasurable endorphins that make us happy. There's oxytocin, there's serotonin, there's dopamine. All of those things are positive, uplifting, even loving. They are emotions that are produced, for example, when we're in love with someone, or when we're loving a child or a newborn baby. So we can produce those emotions when we aren't necessarily in love or holding a newborn baby. Now, how do we do that? Well, one of the greatest ways to cause the brain to produce positive chemicals is exercise or movement. Now, I mentioned in a previous episode that I'd like to change the word exercise to the word movement. And I also said, let's change the word diet to the word nourishment, because they're more positive. We need nourishment to be alive and to have a good quality of life. And we need movement to have a good quality of life. Many people, when they hear the term exercise, think of working hard, pushing through something, no pain, no gain, really sweating and perspiring. But I'm talking about physical movement that is related to the brain. And because of that, it causes not only our joints, our spinal column, our bones, our muscles, our ligaments and tendons to feel better, but it causes the brain to fire neurons and actually change itself. Not only can it change itself structurally, change its function, meaning that it can also change our mind. It can change our attitudes. It can change our experience of the emotions that we are having, if we would like it to, if we would choose to allow it to do that. So there have been research studies that show that movement or exercise has a profound effect on stress, anxiety, depression, ADHD, ADD. All of those things are affected by movement. And here's one of the reasons why. Neuroscientists have discovered that the primary purpose of the brain being located in the body is to control movement of the body. So not only does the brain control movement, but movement affects the brain. So it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be challenging. It doesn't have to cause us to really perspire and sweat. What it has to do is cause us to stimulate our brains by making movements and to train our brains to speak more quickly and have a dialogue more quickly with our bodies. So when we move, we also produce hormones, proteins, and other chemicals like the ones I mentioned before: oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, that cause us to have a more pleasurable, happy experience of our day. Because it doesn't just last during the 10 minutes or 30 minutes or hour that we're moving. It lasts, sometimes it's different from person to person, for the entire day or even into the next day or the day after that, because we've produced so many positive and pleasure-producing chemicals from our brain through movement. So one of the things that I'd like to mention to you, one of the ways that exercise really helps us and affects us, is it can give us cardiovascular health. It can give us more energy or endurance. It can help us regulate our blood sugar levels, and it can help us with oxygen intake, but it can also help us with mood. So they've proven that 10 minutes of exercise or movement, as I like to call it, can actually do all of those things. And that if you were to choose 10 minutes, maybe in the morning, 10 minutes later in the afternoon during that slump time, for example, and maybe 10 minutes in the evening of maybe milder movements, that 10 minutes segments 3 times a day is actually as or more beneficial than working out for 30 minutes. So I have some good things to say about 10-minute exercise. And I'd like to show you a couple of exercises that I know can definitely affect your mood and your attitude and your emotions. So in these episodes, I typically show you one tool or exercise from the Ageless Grace Brain Health Program that can help you with whatever we've been talking about. Tonight, I'm going to show you 2 things that you can do at home on your own that can produce a more positive attitude and a more upbeat emotional experience, regardless of what you're going through in your life. If we're sad, we're sad. However, that doesn't have to be the overriding emotion. It can be an important emotion surrounded by other emotions that we've chosen to add into our day. And that's when we can actually create the life that we want to live and make it more graceful by choosing to add in positive and uplifting feelings, emotions, and attitudes. Now, I'm going to show you these two. One I'm going to do with music, and one we're going to make our own sounds and noises. And the first one is called Dance Party. It's very simple. And if you don't like to dance, or if you think you can't dance very well, then this exercise or tool is for you. First of all, we do all of our exercises or tools seated. And the primary reason for that is that when we're seated, the brain engages immediately and figures out, well, how do I do this dance sitting down in a chair? I usually do this standing up. Or the brain engages and says, what? How do you do this step or this dance seated? So anytime we sit down and do exercise, we're not only working the brain, we're working the core of the body, and we're causing the body and brain to talk to each other and to produce those chemicals that we would like to produce for more positive and uplifting emotions. So Dance Party is done to music, which is one more key to not only stimulating the brain, but it has been proven that music, especially music that you like, or music that's fun and upbeat, or music that you really enjoy moving to, or that you have special memories associated with, also helps with producing those positive chemicals in the that produce those positive emotions that we would all like to have more of. So this is first one, Dance Party, is done to music and is for personal expression and emotional expression. So I'm going to put some music on, and I hope you have gotten comfortable like I am. I'm always either in bare feet or sock feet. I'm always relaxed and sitting in a comfortable chair. And I hope you're in a comfortable chair too. If you're not, please find one where you can still watch the episode and be involved and participate, but feel comfortable doing it. The good news is I can't see you, so you can't be seen by other people either. So go for it. Dance Party. Let's really have a good time. Here we go. So let's first just dance our arms and hands. Doesn't matter what you do, just move them. Now let's add our feet. And again, it doesn't matter what you do with them. Just move them around like you're dancing. Now add in the rib cage. Get that rib cage moving. And see if you can keep moving your feet and your hands and arms. Now let's move our knees. Let those knees dance. Now how about your belly button? Get your belly button to dance along with the music. Now let's actually do some dances. How about the monkey? Or how about the twist? Show me all your best moves. about the swim? Hold your nose with your other hand. Are your feet still moving? How about if we try the jerk? Uh-oh, my feet stopped moving. How about the pony? Prance a little. How about the shimmy shake? Loose hands, open your lips and part your teeth. How about the bunny hop? All right. Now, hopefully, you feel a little more uplifted and positive. Hopefully, you released some endorphins and had a good time. So that's one dance party. Put on any music that you like at home and dance in your chair so that your brain has to figure out how the heck to do it from a seated position. Now, the next one is called Breathe Out Loud. And breathe out loud is about oxygenating the bloodstream in the cells. And of course, that means you're also oxygenating the cells in the brain, which is really important. So, how do we do that? Well, the most important part of breathing, which has two parts, of course, the inhale and the exhale, is in fact the exhale. So one of the best ways to really get a fuller, deeper exhale, because your brain will remember to inhale on its own in between, don't worry, is to make sound. So we can hum, whistle, sing, repeat tongue twisters, use numbers in a sequence or just from 1 to 100. We could use our ABCs. We could use our vowel sounds. We could repeat slogans or jingles that we've heard on television. All of those things, saying them out loud, causes the abdominal wall to contract and force that sound out and give you a deeper, fuller exhale, which means as soon as that exhale is over, your brain is going to remember that you need to breathe in, and you're going to have a fuller, deeper experience of getting oxygen into the bloodstream. If you've ever taken a course or a workshop in breathing or breath work, you'll know that they say the exhale should be twice as long as the inhale. Now, you don't need to raise your hands. I know that almost all of us do not exhale twice as long as the inhale. So that's why all the things I just mentioned to make sound are really important. And when we do it, we repeat whatever it is we're doing 10, 12, 15 times so that we're really getting that sensation of the abdominal wall pushing the air as well as the sound out of our bodies. So let's start off and let's just do a few simple ones. Let's say our vowel sounds really, really quickly. English vowels, A, E, I, O, U, as fast as we can. And as we do it, let's move our joints. A-E-I-O-U, 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 A-E-I-O-U. And stop. And you might even feel a little breathless, which is great because we're also doing some movement to help force that sound out of our lungs and our abdominal wall, with our abdominal wall. So another one we could do is to say the vowels really slowly and drag them out, like A, and then do the same with E, I, O, and U. So another one that we could do is a tongue twister. So what say rubber baby buggy bumpers? Fast as we can, and I can already tell you, I'm going to get so mixed up, but I'm going to do my best, and don't stop when you get mixed up. Rubber baby buggy bumpers, 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 rubber baby buggy bumpers. Goodness. So we could also sing, hum, or whistle, and it should be to a simple song that you know, maybe from your childhood, because most songs from our childhood have positive memories and emotions associated with the moments that we were singing those songs or participating in that music. So let's hum to row your boat. Are you ready? You can see how only doing it twice really causes your abdominals to squeeze and that sound to push out. You could do it 4 or 5 times. And don't forget to whistle to some songs. Doesn't matter if the whistle actually comes out. Maybe it's just air. That's okay. Or singing the words to some songs. So all of these things, sounding, making a noise, imagining maybe some kind of emotion like happiness, like I just won the lottery, woo-hoo-hoo, yahoo, woo-hoo-hoo, and you would sustain that and carry it on for a while. So I hope you will practice dance party and breathe out loud at home on your own. It's not only good for the brain and the body, they're also good for the emotions. If you'd like to know more about how to discover what the 21 simple tools are for lifelong comfort and ease, you can go to our website, agelessgrace.com, agelessgrace.com. And there are wonderful blog articles on all different kinds of things that have to do with the brain. There are handouts, there are printouts, there are downloads, there are video clips, and we also have classes that you can buy. And once you buy them, you own them and you have them on your computer, and you can do Ageless Grace classes with me personally. There are workshops on there that you might enjoy, and there are also seminars to learn more about the 21 tools, or 14-hour certifications so that you can get certified to teach this program and share it with others. So this has been Living a Graceful Life, and I'm your host, Denise Medved, and I thank you so much for joining me tonight. I always leave with a what if thought. So what if each one of us were to choose every day between now and the next episode a positive emotion that falls under the category of love? And that was to be our overriding and guiding emotion for the day. I think if we did this for 7 days, for a whole week, each one of us, that we could change the world for good. Thank you for joining me. For those of you who are still on, we can also have a question and answer period for 30 minutes at the end. So I'm going to come up here